Hollywood loves a good Viking ritual. We've been shown a picture that's brutal, bloody, and dramatic. You've seen the wild ceremonies in shows like Vikings, but what if the truth was even more bizarre? And what if the most infamous Viking ritual of all was a complete fabrication? Today, we're cutting through the myths to uncover the disturbing and surprising truths behind Viking sacrificial rituals. The line between history and horror is blurry, and we're about to draw it out. Myth 1, the blood eagle, an iconic brutality or a literary lie. There's no image more tied to Viking cruelty than the blood eagle. The description is stomach-turning. A living victim has their back sliced open, ribs snapped from the spine, and lungs pulled out to create bloody wings, all as a sacrifice to Odin. It's the ultimate revenge in pop culture. But here's the bombshell. Many historians believe the blood eagle never happened. The descriptions we have are incredibly rare, found only in Norse sagas written centuries after the Viking Age, long after Christianity had taken root. That's a massive red flag. Christian scribes might have invented or exaggerated the ritual to paint their pagan ancestors as savages. Let's look at the sources. Not a single contemporary account from the Viking Age mentions it. There is zero archaeological proof. No skeleton with its ribs bent back has ever been found. Some scholars, like Roberta Frank, argue it's all a big misunderstanding of complex poetry. A line like, Ivar had Ella's back cut with an eagle, may not have been literal. The eagle was a common poetic symbol for a scavenger that feasted on the dead. So, the line could have just meant King Ella was killed and left on the battlefield. Over time, later writers might have taken this metaphor literally, adding gruesome details with each retelling. And yet, the debate isn't settled. A recent study concluded that technically the ritual was anatomically possible with Viking Age tools. The victim would have died almost instantly, but it could be done. They suggest that if it happened, it was an extreme act to restore a family's honor. So the blood eagle remains a chilling mystery. Was it a real, horrifying ritual for the most hated enemies, or a literary invention that took on a life of its own? The fact that we can't say for sure is just as disturbing. Myth 2. The glorious volunteers for sacrifice. Another powerful image is the willing sacrificial victim, bravely offering their life to the gods. But was it ever really a choice? For the truth, we turn to Ahmad ibn Fadlan, an Arab diplomat who met a group of Norsemen in 922 AD. His record of a chieftain's ship burial is one of our most unsettling eyewitness accounts. When the chieftain died, his family asked his slave girls, "Who among you will die with him?" One girl volunteered. At first, this seems to support the myth, but what Ibn Fadlan describes next is much darker. For 10 days, this volunteer was never left alone. She was constantly guarded, given intoxicating drinks, and made to sing. The ritual became even more coercive. Ibn Fadlan writes that the girl was taken from tent to tent, where the master of each would have sex with her, saying, "Tell your master I have done this out of love for him." This was a public, ritualized act, fueled by social pressure and intoxication. When it was time for the sacrifice, the girl was brought to the ship. Her screams were drowned out by men banging on their shields. An old woman, the angel of death, put a cord around her neck for 2 men to pull, while she stabbed the girl between the ribs repeatedly. Strangled and stabbed, she died not in quiet glory, but in a brutal, orchestrated killing. So was her choice free? It's highly doubtful. As a slave, she was property. The offer was likely made under intense pressure, and constant intoxication made real consent impossible. Archaeology backs this up. Graves often show a richly buried noble next to a bound, decapitated skeleton, clearly a sacrificed servant, not an honored equal. The reality was a grim, coercive business where the line between religious duty and brutal murder was terrifyingly thin. Myth 3. Sacrifice was always a grand, bloody spectacle. When we think of Viking sacrifice, We picture the great temple at Uppsala in Sweden. A German chronicler, Adam of Bremen, described a festival held there every 9 years where 9 males of every species, humans included, were sacrificed and hung from trees in a sacred grove. These large public sacrifices, called blot, did happen, especially at the homes of powerful chieftains. They were huge community feasts where animals were ritually slaughtered. Their blood was sprinkled on altars and on the people, and the meat was cooked and shared with the gods. These were major social and religious events. But this wasn't the everyday reality of their faith. For most people, religion was far more personal and private. Norse paganism was decentralized and deeply connected to family and the land. Many rituals happened on individual farms, led by the head of the household. Instead of human sacrifice, they'd offer food, ale, or a farm animal to bless the land. One traveler described a man in Hedeby slaughtering an animal and hanging it on stakes outside his house, a personal act to honor his god. Archaeology confirms this diversity. Offerings could be anything from weapons thrown into a lake to silver and tools left on a hill. There were also rituals like the Disablot, dedicated to female ancestral spirits who were thought to protect the family. This paints a much more complicated picture. The grand sacrifices might have happened, but they were the exception. The real heart of Viking faith was in the daily customs connecting them to their gods, their ancestors, and the world. The truth behind Viking rituals is far more complex than what we see on screen. The legendary blood eagle might be a myth born from misunderstood poetry. The willing sacrifice was more likely a coerced killing, and the grand, bloody spectacles were just one piece of a faith that was also deeply personal and tied to daily life. The Vikings weren't one-dimensional barbarians. They lived in a world where violence and faith were woven together, where rituals gave structure to their society and helped them make sense of an unforgiving world. The truth is always more fascinating than the stories we're told. What do you think? Is the blood eagle real or a lie? Let us know your theories in the comments below. And if you want to keep digging up the truth behind history's darkest myths, make sure to like and subscribe.